JD here with the Ohio Department of Transportation in the Office of CAD Mapping Services, and this video is going to go over a custom app called OHDOT Crossreference. So this tool can be launched by loading the OHDOT workspace and then going to the Ohio DOT workflow in the ribbon, and then look at the sheet section, and there's OHDOT Crossreference. So I open that up and I get this dialog. So as a help menu that can be used to launch help doc, the video you're watching now, the about. So if I click on about, see some general data. And if you notice, this results section will get updated for every little thing that you do. So you can expand it to see the previous results. The newest one does go on top. So you can clear those out with this button. You could copy it. If you still had stuff, it would copy that to the clipboard. You can paste it elsewhere. So the results section is going to be pretty useful to making sure that it was successful in the action that you're trying to do. So right now it only has a new link mode. Down the line I plan on having a modify mode, but it's actually pretty easy to modify this stuff without the app, which I'm going to do in another video. And this one's really just going to show you how to quickly use the application. So what we need is a text element. So I'm just going to place a new one and just do a quick little text. I'm going to place that, and you'll see that it's just a text element. And what I want to do is I want to add a call out or cross-reference to a page number on another file. It's the main purpose of this application. You'll see I already have one. I'll show later in the bulk mode of kind of why I have some extra stuff set up. But so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this select text element button, and I'm going to select my text. It will only let you select the text element, and it only lets you select text elements that are editable. So if it's in a reference, it won't let you select it because it needs to be able to update this. Once you select it, it'll get populated in this. This is just a read-only text box. It's by no means an editor. Just double click on it, on the text itself to edit, but it's just kind of show you what you have selected. So once you have it selected, you can use this setup new link button to set up your cross-reference. So when I do that, I get this dialog. And it's just asking for the needed information in order to create a cross-reference, like what file do you want me to go to get this cross-reference. This is fully integrated into ProjectWise, so if you launch this DGN from ProjectWise, this would have started up with the ProjectWise file select dialog rather than the Windows. So I'm just going to select the file here, and then it populates this with all of the models. So this is test data, so I got some extra models here, but you'd select the model you want to search, and then the select button is how you select the given property that you actually want the cross-reference to go to. So I click that, I get this property selector dialog. So without getting into the weeds, I'll have another video that goes behind the scenes of how everything's working, but this one's more of just a quick here's how to use it. So basically we'll only populate with elements that have item types, certain item types attached to it. So there's some criteria there that we'll go over in another video. So in this given case, they'd only found one element in this model that had the item type attached. And so this is right now for Ohio, it's set up to be looking for these sheet cell borders to get the item types. So typically you only have one sheet per model. So majority of the time you should really only see one element here. But just in case you have multiple, you can just switch the different ones. But so if I expand this out, I can see all the properties on that element for that given item type. And most likely you're going to be using the sheet number property. That's most likely what you're going to want to do here. So I'm going to select that, and it's going to give me a little selection data down here in the corner. I'm going to hit OK, and it populates the same thing right here. So now it has enough information to create this cross-reference, so I'll just hit OK, and it will generate that cross-reference for me. And you'll see in the results it was green, that means it was successful. So if it was red, it would tell you what went wrong here. So just look at that. So now this text element has been updated to contain that. So if I take a look at this text element, you'll see that It's just a text field that got added to the end of the text element. So if right now it's only going to add it to the end. So if you need to modify something like say move this over to here, you can do that. And you'll see that it stays. So undo that. For right now, that's kind of the workflow for editing it. So this is just going to add to the end. It's not that hard to modify it. All right. So now that it's added, the next mode that you kind of have or options you have is with updating the file. So I have two update buttons. So these fields are static, so you will have to update if something changed. So if you just want to update the active file, you can click this button, and it'll search all models in the active file and update them. So I did throw some extra ones in here just so we can see some different results. So when I click this, I get a red result saying that it failed to update all. So it doesn't mean that everything failed, it just means that something failed. So if I take a look at my results here, kind of see what's going on. So make that bigger here. So it says failed to load file that the cross-reference is pointing to. So this is one I threw in there. It was junk, so obviously it wasn't ever going to update, but you can kind of start inspecting it and seeing, okay, it's in the active file, what model it's in, the element ID, the actual location of what the cross-reference is pointing to, which I'll go over here in a second. This one, the value changed, so it's updated from 7 to 14, which was this one right here. This one, the value did not change. That's the one we just added. And then I also threw another one in there. And then if you notice, it's in a different model to show that it will look at all the models here. So if you see an element ID and you're wondering how, well, I don't know where that is, you can just come up to your key ins, and there's a little key in. It's called analyze element select by ID, and if I key in the one that we just did, that 3274, hit enter, you'll see there it selected that for you. So that's kind of easy way to go find that element. Okay, the other mode is the bulk update option, and so depending on how many files you have in your work set, it might take a little longer to load this, but there's like 300 and some I think in here. So all it did was search the active work set for any DGN. You can see the work set location is populated here. You can't change that. That's based off of what your active work set is. And then there's a sheets only checkbox. At default is checked on. So what that does is it will only display DGN files that are directly inside a folder that has the name sheets. If I uncheck it, then it'll give me any DGN in the whole entire project or work set. The filter can also be used to filter down. So if you start typing in things, you can see that the filter just filters a list here. And all you have to do is select the files that you want to update. So I will select, before I do that, let me clear my results here just so you can see what actually changed here. So if I come back into my bulk update, I'm just going to select a couple things like the file I'm in right now because I know that there is cross-references in here. And then you can just keep selecting. So most of these don't have any cross-reference in it, but you'll see it says I have 3 files selected. So real quick, I forgot to mention the columns here. So there's a category column, which is the first folder inside of your work set. The discipline is the folder inside the category. So basically the top 2 folders directly inside your work set. And then the third one is the relative path, which is the path from inside your work set to the actual DGN file. And these headers are sortable, so you can click the headings and they will sort. I forgot to mention that. So I can just hit update selected, and it's going to go through and it's going to update everything that it could find. It's going to search all those selected files, all the models in those selected files, and look for any cross-references. If it finds one, it's going to try to update it. And so here are my results, which is what I expected since I chose the file I'm in. just like last time I had one that was bad in there, so that one failed, and then all the other ones didn't change because I obviously just changed it in here. So that's kind of how the bulk update's working. Now some other options you have with this is the keyin window itself. I also added 2 keyins that you can use. So one, I'll just type in OHDOTXRef. If I look at my options here, I have open and close, which you can just use this up here to open and close it, but technically those would work too. But there's also an active, update active and update DGN. So what update active does is the same thing as what this update active file does. So if you didn't want to actually open the dialog, you can do that, and it'll update the active one. And since it's outside of this window, it actually sends the results to your message center. So you can just take a look at your message center. It's going to tell you everything that it did. So there's that. And then the other one is very similar, but this one lets you specify a given DGN file. So with this one, you have to key in some kind of path, like full path. So, you know, wherever that file is, I don't have one off the top of my head. You just type in the full path and hit enter, and it does the same thing, and it'll spit the results out. If you're inside ProjectWise, instead of doing the full path, you just type in the GUID of that document. So whatever that GUID is for that document, you type it in there and hit enter, and it will update that. So that's kind of those 2 available options for keyins. Now, the keyins, well, if you start typing in like OH and you don't see the keyin options, it doesn't know about the keyin options until the application is actually loaded. So if you have it, you could get it loaded by just launching the window, but if you don't want to do that, or if you're trying to do some kind of bulk update through MicroStation, you'll have to load it first. And to load it, you just type in MDL load and then OHDOTXRef. And then that will load it, and then you should see your keyins come in. Okay, so that is hopefully a quick and easy way to use this app. The next video, I'm going to go over kind of behind the scenes and how to modify what it's really doing behind the scenes and stuff like that. So see you in the next video.